All right, welcome back to another episode of a Hero's Journey podcast. This episode's brought to you by SMP Inc. Let them rebuild your confidence like they did for me and my boy Chase, who happens to be back today. This is so cool. I wish I had a camera on you right now, Chase.
That's okay. You know, I'm not camera ready today.
Okay, sounds good. JPS Computers, and Jesse happens to be in Las Vegas right now, which is really cool. Learning more, being educated on that whole world. He builds websites, all that stuff behind the scenes. He does that for Hero's Journey podcast. And my newest sponsor, it's Ride or Die Legal, 1-844 Ride or Die Legal. Reach out to them if you get into a motorcycle accident or if you just want a ticket fixed. You want help getting a ticket fixed? 1-844 Ride or Die Legal. Reach out to them, build a relationship with them, and have them in your back pocket whenever you need them. So a Hero's Journey podcast is we all wake up the hero of our own story. And it's not always the best. Like lately, I've been going through a ton. My life did a 180 on me. And I woke up feeling like I just want to stick my fingers down my throat to make all the hurt go away. And it's been rough. There's a lot of changes have been going on, but then all this good. I just keep looking at that. I'm looking at the camera right now, and there's a little bit of light in this room. That little dot. That's what I'm chasing. That's what I'm going after every day right now. And I get this call last minute. And there are people who come into your life for a short period of time, like a season, a day, a season. Then there are people that come in and they're there forever. And they're family to you. They're going to be there for you no matter what. It's just, you just click and know them. Well, this person, my next guest, that's what happened. When we met, it was like meetings, like staring at a mirror and thinking, wow, we are so similar. But then there are traits in you that I wish I had. And vice versa. And it was one of those things where I can't do that. That's amazing. I love that about you. And so my next guest...
You complete me, B.
Yes, exactly. So my next guest is like a brother to me. We'll get into all the things that make him special on this episode. But Mr. Toryn Green, what's up, dude?
What's up, dude?
How are you?
It's so weird to like see you. Like it's very, very professional. You're so sultry with your voice and everything now. I don't know if we should turn the lights down.
So, yeah, that's funny. I have a great time. We were just talking about this off the air. I have a great time being in here. This is a new space for me, something that you're not aware of. Just like I sat at a bar the other night listening to a story that we'll get into with you, but this is evolving. Just kind of like I said at the beginning, I'm going through a lot, but taking on these challenges and saying yes to things, and knowing that it's going to take some work and take some time. You and I, we met and this is funny because I remember this. You had blonde, spiky hair. You were from Alaska. I walk into the gym one day at Gold's Gym, North Hollywood, and you were working the counter, and I'm like, who's this guy? Yeah. And
so fresh off the Alaska boat right there.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
You were. Here, pull this a little closer so you don't have to lean in.
Hey.
There you go. But so here's the thing. What was the move? Because this is Toryn Green. If you guys don't know who he is, and I'm going to put a little stamp on it real quick. There was a point where you played the biggest rock stages in the world, and you were the former lead singer of the band Fuel. You also went out with Apocalyptica. We'll get into how you got that because it was literally like a movie,
Right.
how that stuff played out.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about who you are, where you're from Alaska.
Yep. I grew up in Palmer, Alaska. Graduated from Colony High School. Went back a few times to play some music up there and made a few great friends up there during the music stuff, and then you and I connected on that, and then you ended up going to Alaska, and I think you're
because
still,
of you,
like regularly going to Alaska, which is awesome.
I do.
It's just like our lives have just kind of come like sort of like a full circle. It's really amazing to me.
It blows me away that it goes back to that day because I feel like I've known you my whole life. Yeah. It's one of those things where we met and we're like, and I went and saw you, because images of going to the Cat Club. I saw you at the Cat Club with Something to Burn.
Oh my God.
And and you were playing the Cat Club right next to the whiskey. And I went because you said, hey, I'm we had ran into each other again later. And now you had dark hair and hair going across your face. And
everybody was saying, oh, you look like Chris Angel.
Yeah, right.
You look Chris Angel. I'm like,
Right.
Great. And then I met Chris Angel, and he's a nice guy.
Yeah, yeah. But it was one of those things where I remember that, and then just that journey of there was a point in all this where, I mean, talk about what it took, because you got the Fuel gig, and I want to get into that. We were both, when we sat down, we talked about our favorite bands.
Yeah.
It was Lifehouse, Fuel, STP,
Yep.
Our Lady Peace, Live. I mean, we were just getting into all these bands that we were, that we had similarities, very similar, like the way we approached taking the stage, all that stuff. It was, I watched that in you. I'm like, oh, that's like me. And then I'm like, oh, I don't do that. Like, you know, like
that's really different.
Yeah,
dude.
no, but just your voice and everything. You know, you kill it. I just spent the last 3 days staying up till 5 o'clock in the fucking morning.
I'm on vacation, man.
Yeah, every
gotta make-
night with this guy, and everywhere I go, I'm like letting him know, hey, my boy's here. Let's get him on stage, you know. And he's like, oh, me? Oh, okay, I'll get up there.
Let it shine.
Yeah, but it's been fun. So let's get into that, because we were both big fans of Scott Weiland.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy, crazy story. So I grew up in Alaska. I came down here when I was like 22. I threw all my stuff in my car and kind of drove like 4,000 miles. I made it like to LA in like just like 4 days. I was hauling ass, and I just wanted to like have the whole music thing kind of take off. And I played every club on the Strip, with different bands. I started a band called like Patience Worth. Then I did like Something to Burn, and we, went to like Asia a few times, played in front of like huge crowds. Like we won this like World Battle of the Bands competition. Things were going really well in that band. And then I got a call from a former guitar player that Fuel was looking for a singer. They were doing like this international search, and the way you would, become a member of the band, whatever, or to audition for the band was to you could download like Hemorrhage and put your vocals on it, and then kind of send it in, and then they would kind of like decide from like a big pool of people. And so I did that. I got with like my old drummer who had like a studio, and we recorded Hemorrhage and had a good time doing that. And then like I just couldn't sleep for the next couple days, and I was just like, man, if it were me, I would look for somebody who's kind of like going that extra mile. So I was like, well, let's just do some other stuff. So I went and got like all these instrumental versions of like Bad Day and Shimmer and all the other, big hits. And then we went back to the studio and we kind of did this like montage of all these kind of hits that kind of like run together. And I submitted that from like a different email address, And then, so then I guess there was a day that they kind of picked out like 12 finalists. And 2 of those 12 were me, because I had submitted from 2 different emails.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. And so they were calling, like they had scheduled a date for everyone to come into LA and actually record these vocals. And I was looking forward to it, and I was like, what am I going to do to prepare for this? And so it was a weird thing. There was like a karaoke bar called Sardo's, which was in Burbank, California. This is the absolute truth. I went in, it was like, it was one evening, it was like still sunny outside. And I walked into the bar when they first opened, and they
did porn star karaoke there.
Oh yeah, that was the
right.
porn star karaoke place.
Yes,
and,
okay.
And so it was just when I went in. He remembers these things.
I
for
do.
certain,
I just remember that now. Yeah.
So I went into this place, and I swear to God, it was me and it was the bartender. It was just the 2 people in the building. And I went over to the stage, and there was nobody there. So I'm like, I'm just gonna try to blow the dust off, kind of being in front of like a crowd that's not here, just to sing on a, And so I picked out A Big Empty. It was the song, and I started singing this song. And midway through the song, the sunlight kind of peered in through the door because it was still sunny outside. And in walks this guy, and he walks across over to the bar. And I look at him, and I think I recognize him, and it's friggin' Scott Weiland. Like,
who is the lead singer of the band and songwriter of Big Empty?
Yeah, so I'm literally like in the bar with the singer as I'm singing the song, and the bartender, the 3 of us in this big empty space. And big empty space. And then anyway, so he like after the song's over, he's like, "Hey, that's pretty good, man. Did you write that?" I'm like, "No, but I have a good idea. Maybe who did?" And so we kind of hit it off, and then people started filling into the bar, and we were just kind of talking throughout the night. And I kind of told him, I said, "Hey, I'm in this fuel running thing. I'm like one of the top 12." I'm like, "Do you have any tips? Anything I could do to kind of stand out?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, go in wearing sunglasses." And I'm like,
Really?
That was what he told me. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'll go in wearing sunglasses. And then he goes, so, if you got this far, and I was kind of telling him about Something to Burn and everything. He goes, let me hear some of your stuff. So we actually walk out to my car.
Oh, dude.
He hops in my car.
Dude.
And I put on my songs and for Something to Burn and kind of show him some of the tour footage and everything from Asia. And he's like, "Dude, I wouldn't worry about this whole fuel thing because I'll sign your band right now." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." We had a couple of drinks, sure, buddy, And literally, the next day, his manager called me and was like, "Come into Lavish Studios. Scott wants to sign your band. Bring your band in and whatever." So I was telling my band all about this, and they were super stoked. And then I told him, I said, "Look, and I had told the band about the fuel stuff too, and I said, there's a chance that I won't be able to do both of these things, and Fuel was like, absolutely not, if we bring you, that's going to be it. That was all done through management. So right. I had a choice to make. I got down to where I was basically the Fuel deal or, when everything cleared.
To be with one of our heroes.
Yeah.
And, go ahead.
And so, that was when I think back on those big decisions, my crossroads, I think back to how that all worked out because Scott was cool enough to sign that band with another singer that they all approved of and everything, and they went on and they kind of opened up for a few STP shows and stuff like that, and then we all know how that kind of went with Scott. But it was just
rest in peace.
Yeah, it was but so for me it was a cool thing because I got to play again these huge stages on songs that I love, and we put out another record and it was really an amazing way to kind of get in and meet a bunch of new friends and kind of travel the world. And and then right around 2012 or so, I was just I'm touring a lot. I'm on a bus a lot. I'm never home. It's a lonely thing when you're out touring and stuff, as you know. And I was just if I'm ever going to do something different with my life, I probably should do it now. So I sat back and I'm like, okay, I always kind of wanted to be like a doctor in high school, but I also had this aptitude for singing. So maybe I should, go and do that while I'm, the young and marketable and stuff like that. So that's what I did. But right around 2012 or so, I'm like, I don't want to be in this industry where, I put my heart and soul into a record and then the rug ends up getting pulled from me, right when my single is climbing because the record label decides to fold, which is kind of what happened to me when I was with the band Emphatic.
I never could say that name right. I'm serious. Emphatic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just because you said it. But here was the thing. I just posted pictures of you and I, and somebody said, "Who's that?" Because I said, "This is my brother."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Can he sing too? Can he?" I'm like, he was in Fuel. And Donna Levy in Australia, who has Paperback Hero tattooed on her arm and our faces and whatnot, she starts listing the bands that you're in. And then somebody else jumps in and goes, "Emphatic, Something to Burn," going down the line. It was hilarious. The bands you've been in, you were out with Apocalyptica.
Yeah.
I've seen you, dude. I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't want you to skip over. There was a time in Fuel when we had to hide this from everybody.
Yeah, a year. I had to keep it secret for a year.
You recorded the record. I got to go into the studio and watch you record. And what sucked was I remember the day, and I knew this is how hard a record it can take. Chase, to make a record, I go in, and he's killing it on this album. The day I show up, your line is "Fuck this world," or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
What was the line? It was
"Fuck the way I feel right now."
"Fuck the way I feel right now," and it's the opening line of this song.
Forever.
Exactly, Forever, on the album. And I think Carl Bell made you sing that 50 times, and I'm like, I'm gonna leave, bro. And the frustration, because everything was there, but Carl at the time, being the songwriter of that song, he wanted to feel that line.
So he made me sing it 50 times.
50
Till I was like, fuck the way
I feel right now. Like, get the fuck out.
You gotta.
Right? No, but I remember that, and I'm like, wow, if people knew what it takes to make a record and to find and emote and get this stuff right, I was in the car, listening to music with your family in the car on the way over here, and the way music connects people and the work that it takes. So I watched you do this. Then I watched the announcement when I think it was like Extra launched that you were the new lead singer, because the big story was they'd asked Chris Daughtry originally because he did one of their songs, and they asked him, like, it was publicly known. And then they went on the search and they found you, which was amazing, because now we're having to hide it. We're going to the gym, we're getting into shape, we're getting ready to do all this stuff together. I'm getting to meet Carl Bell, who was one of my favorite songwriters. They were one of our favorite, mutually, our favorite bands. So it was like you were living out the movie Rockstar from Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. Literally, that was that whole thing. But you weren't in control. Like you were the lead singer, and you were being, told how to dress, how to everything. But the day, because I don't want you to skip over this stuff. We'll get into who you are in the second half of this, which is coming up, you guys. It's special. But the day you walked into that audition with some of your heroes, Carl Bell, who was it? Mark played was bass.
So we had Carl, we had Jeff Abercrombie.
Jeff,
who was
bass player.
And then at that time we had Tommy from Godsmack.
Yes, I remember that dude was a beast. So you walk into the studio. Did you wear sunglasses like Scott said?
I did.
Did you?
I did, but the thing is, it was like you walk in, and what they wanted you to do was like do like a Polaroid. Like they took a Polaroid of everybody coming in. Just I don't know what, maybe they want to see like if Polaroid you look good there, then you're gonna look good and whatever else.
Right.
So they did that to everybody, and then. So we all auditioned kind of in the morning, and it felt like it went really, really well. And then I went and actually played a show that afternoon with Something to Burn. I was actually at a tattoo convention playing like Angel Stadium, and so we were playing this show, and I did my performance, and I was actually getting this tattoo right here. I was midway through getting this tattoo, like the blue was going in.
Okay.
And I got a call on my phone from Paul Geary, which was Fuel's manager at the time,
who used to be in Extreme.
Yeah, exactly.
The drummer from Extreme. Yep. There we go.
And he was like, hey, the guys really like what you did this morning, and they want you back. So I'm like, okay, let me just finish this up right here. I'm getting a little, and its strength was my tattoo. It was really interesting. I'll never forget that. But I went over there and then kind of had a chance to hang out with the guys and kind of do like a more personal thing, and we all kind of went out and hung out in the car and whatever. I had like this. It was back when the retro like Mustang first kind of came back, and I had it all blacked out and everything. And later on, like Carl's like, "Yeah, man, I just chose you because you had a cool car."
Yeah. Well, it was like I always said you drove the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And we talked about that on the way over here. How you, like how you see things in other people that you don't have. And I'd always notice that you were about the vehicles and cars, always pointing out cars, always knew everything about them. And I'm like,
fast stuff.
I'm like, oh, that's a cool color.
That one's shiny.
I like the wheels, whatever. But so what was great about that was, we had to hide it. But there was a special moment, and I remember sitting at home. I didn't even go. At the time, I remember this because there were so many struggles and so many. There's special moments that you search for as an artist, and the writing the songs, all the hard work, all the things that we can sit and talk about and skip over. We're skipping over so many hard things and things that leave you in your room feeling like, am I doing the right thing? And then moments that are highs that are like, I could do this every day.
Yeah.
Well, you got to do the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at you and I'm like, you can't, your parents weren't in town.
Yep.
And yes, we were roommates at the time, and at 3 lead singers living in one house, and it was really cool. But I said, someone has to go with you that actually understands the hard work and the struggle. And that's just a friend, but knew you before, go take that in, and we'll watch it when we get home.
Yeah.
When you get home, we'll all sit and watch it together. And I remember that moment. And that was special for me. That was special because we were chasing how many of us get to do the Tonight Show? No. Like,
It was like Gordon Ramsay that day. It was
yeah.
and Jay was really cool. And I'd actually met Jay a few times, like out in Angeles Crest, because he's all about cars and like, doing like the whole motorcycle and car thing up in the canyons. And whenever I'd be up there, like on like the Ducatis, whatever, he'd be up there in his like whatever like old cars and just like always in the in the denim uniform.
Oh yeah, dude. I just met him. I met him. I'm not even 3 weeks ago. I took a picture with him. We were standing and talking. I went to one of his shows.
Yeah.
And
I love Jay.
So yeah, but. That was, I just remember from brother to brother, I just literally said, you can't take and don't impress anybody. Now, we're not going to just go take some rando person to there. I'm not even going to go. Your parents can't go. It's got to be somebody who understands the struggle and this special moment. And it was great. And I just remember that day, I remember that night being so proud of you and then watching you on the biggest stages around the world, getting to tour and do this. And then before we got into like this new journey, so what, but I want to ask too, like, was it like the movie Rockstar in a way? Cause I saw that movie and
yeah, actually a lot, because I'm not sure if you guys like remember the movie or not, but there was like this kind of like awakening scene where he sort of like wakes up after like this night of partying and kind of sees that what it's like behind the curtain, and then he kind of sees like the guy hooked up on dialysis backstage.
Yep, this is what I'm thinking.
Like there's all these like little chinks in the armor of the dream is not really kind of what it always seems. And there was a time for me. What I think back on most is I was in the band for like I guess over a year at this point, and we were touring, and we were in Pennsylvania. I remember this very specifically. And the bus was kind of outside the venue. We had already done our sound check. And it was the day that our record was released. And I remember like coming in off, from soundcheck. I walked in on the bus, and Carl was sitting there at the computer. He had his like laptop out, and he was just very emotional and kind of had these like sort of tears in his eyes. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? Like, what's happening with you right now? And he's like, dude, did you go online and tell people to like vote for your song? I'm completely like flabbergasted. I'm like, what are you talking about? Vote for my song? Because there was a song that I had written with like Jeff Abercrombie and Ryan Giles called "Halos of the Sun" on that record.
Oh. And
apparently the fans had this contest where they were voting for the song they liked the most on the record, as fans typically do.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, like my song "Halos" was getting a lot of attention, and for some reason, like, I don't know, because Carl had like, written like, Hemorrhage and like Bad Day and all these things, like he thought somehow that there had to be some sort of reason why this song was getting more attention than the other songs on the record. And he basically was accusing me of going in and trying to manipulate this situation. And I'll never forget this, because up until that moment, he was like everything to me. Like, he was like my hero. He changed my future. He had done all these things, but he didn't know me well enough to know that this was basically like we weren't brothers now. Like, this was basically like, it was about the business, and it was about, who's got the better song and who's got and then it was a kind of a cutthroat thing that had occurred right there.
Wow.
And I just, I didn't want to, like, from that point on, everything was always kind of like at a distance with he and I. And then, and there was other like instances which occurred sort of like this too. He never really took the time to see who he had brought into the band. I was playing a role, I was filling a space, in that new space that he needed filled.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's all I was, and it was never anything more than that. And then when I got with, Apocalyptica and was out on the road with these guys, I mean, these guys were all classically trained, and they were all like, they were so passionate about the music itself, and they had people in the background doing all the business stuff as well, but we never saw any of that. Like, it was always about, let's go out and put on the best shows, and let's just have the best amazing time each and every night. And I was so drawn into that,
Yeah.
And it was such a change from what I had experienced, in the the Fuel Camp, And don't get me wrong, and again, I loved playing those songs night after night, and I loved the new songs that we performed, and I think now they're on their fourth singer,
Yeah.
So
They went through somebody who actually, I think I hit you up and it was like, this guy sounds like you.
Yeah.
The third singer that followed
Johnny.
you, this guy sounded like you, and I didn't know he was, smaller guy. I don't know what I couldn't figure out what he was, ethnic wise. It was like trying to figure it out. But there was something missing when I was watching the videos and whatnot. It was like hitting all the poses and doing all the things, but nothing drew me to want to watch this guy. Because Brett Scallion, Brett was the man. But when you filled those shoes, you weren't trying to be Brett. You were being Toryn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you were up there doing you and adding to. You got to do a new record. You got to do record this album, and so did this guy. But and Carl does a great job writing songs. I was impressed with the writing.
The transition between Brett and myself, and then into Johnny, I guess we all have a voice which is close enough to that. When Brett basically put out those original songs, like my voice was, the timbre was similar enough when I did the old stuff that it still sounded like Fuel. And then, the same thing with the third singer and so forth. But we had our own thing different enough to kind of go and do our own kind of direction. And obviously we looked a lot different. But everyone, the whole Brett thing was funny because everyone always put us at odds with each other. Everyone's always comparing, the Brett versus Toryn and Brett versus Toryn. And, it was just all this animosity. And then he and I actually became pretty good buddy.
Right.
we chat pretty much all the time.
Right.
And he's got his own sort of thing that he's got going on. But it's funny because we have our own opinions and reflections of how things were back then and how things are now. And even Johnny, I talk with him and he's got his own thing. Yeah, he's got a thing called Turning the Tide, which is this amazing sort of cover / original act, and he actually tours the world.
Okay.
And it's he.
I didn't mean to be talking down on your friend, but
no,
and I'm not. I mean, Johnny, I'm not. I was just saying there's just something that
he's got
missing.
He's super talented, super, but he blows covers away. But he's got this really cool tone and everything. But you're right, there is he's kind of he's got the tone a similar tone to me, and then a similar tone to Brett. So he's got this blend. It was the good, from if I was choosing a lead singer and I was doing the progression, I think it would have been a great move.
Okay.
I think the guy that it's now though, I don't know anything about him except for the fact that he was on the Voice.
I think he was on The Voice, and I think he did one of their songs and.
Yeah.
One of the Fuel songs, and that's how he got the gig. Well, I'm going to get into because we're going to get into this second part of we've got Toryn Green on the show, former lead singer of the band Fuel, Something to Burn, Emphatic, For the Taking. Was that right?
For the Taking.
For the Taking. Just so Emphatic. I think I remember. That guy, this guitar player, songwriter of that band, had a singer that he found because he was a fan of the Fuel version that you were, and so he had a singer who sounded like you. So then when they got a record deal, they lost their singer because he got into a bar fight or something. You stepped in.
Yeah, so
got to deal with them.
Patrick Wilson, I think, was the singer. Of Emphatic, and they had a few singles out, Get Paid, and awesome songs. And I think, from what I understand, I think he'd gotten into a fight and damaged his ability to sing.
Right.
And then he went off and did another band called Arson City, which was another cool kind of take off with all the cool makeup and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Really a cool act. And then Justin and we kind of took off with the Emphatic thing, and we were on the Apocalypse Artist and. I really, really love that record because I did a lot of writing on that record.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I used to sit and listen to you. This is how he would make me listen to music, by the way. We had a recording studio in our house, and we'd walk in, and I would have to read the lyrics, listen to the version that he's playing for me, and he's singing in my left ear. So he's singing along, it's playing, and I'm having to read the lyrics. Well, I just did the same damn thing to him the other night outside a taco place.
Oh, yeah.
at 3 o'clock in the morning, playing him my new album, the solo record that I'm putting out.
Yep.
And you had to hear every song with it playing and me singing. I couldn't show you the lyrics, but I was singing to you in your left ear.
Yeah, he's like, just imagine me now.
Yeah.
I'm in my pink bikini.
Here we go. Whoa.
I'm not supposed to talk about that.
No. But hey, so we're going to get into this part 2 and why I call this guy Dr. Green. Because you talked about in 2012 how at home in our house, you said, I want to make a decision. And right now, the former lead singer, Toryn Green, of the band Fuel, and the hair is standing up on my arms, is a doctor. He's in his first year residency. He's got 3 more years left in Detroit. We're going to get into that, and we're going to bring his son, Austin, onto the show. Part 2 with Toryn Green. Tune in next week. Dude, don't go anywhere. You're staying right there.
You got it.
Don't even change your clothes because we're just going to continue on. But I want to shout out to our sponsors, SMP Inc. Let them rebuild your confidence like they did Chase and I. JPS Computers, thank you, Jesse, for taking care of HeroesJourneyPodcast.com, ElvisMonroe.com. You rule, dude. And my newest sponsor, 1-844 Ride or Die Legal. 1-844 Ride or Die Legal. If you want a ticket fix or you get into an accident, call that number. Just remember 1-844 Ride or Die Legal. Let them help you. I mean, getting into a motorcycle accident, you've been there.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
I've been on both sides of it, actually.
Yes, you have.
I've been on the motorcycle side, and then now I've been on the doctor side.
Exactly.
Motorcycle accidents all around.
Yeah, so here we go next week with Toryn Green, part 2.
And I believe it's coming around to me.